Carrots have been extremely difficult for me to grow in the past couple of years. I did have some luck the first time that I tried growing them, but it must have been beginner's luck because ever since then, it's been really hard for me to get an actual viable carrot. However, I am not giving up and I am determined to get some homegrown carrots. So I'm going to discuss the difficulties that I've had with growing carrots and talk about what I think went wrong with my previous attempts. And then I'm also going to show you what I am doing this time around that is different, that will hopefully work. I have still been able to get a few carrots the past couple of years, but never enough to make it feel worthwhile. And I certainly didn't get as many carrots for as many seeds as I sowed. What I think happened with my previous carrot attempts is that carrot seeds are really small. They do need to be buried, but not very deep. You're supposed to lightly sprinkle soil on top, but not too much. So what a lot of people do is after they sow their carrot seeds and water them in is they will put a board or something over the area that's raised just a bit until the seeds germinate, because that gives them the right amount of coverage. And I had done that before, but you also need to make sure the soil is hydrated enough while you wait for those seeds to germinate. And that can be hard. And since you're not sowing the seeds very deeply, watering them could shift where you think the seeds are. And then a strong wind could somehow move the seed if it gets out of the soil. So then they either don't get watered enough to germinate or they do, but they fizzle out. And there are what are called pelleted seeds, but not every variety comes pelleted. These are nice though when you can find them because they are coated in usually something like organic clay and it makes it easier to sow the seeds. They won't move around as much as a lightweight tiny seed, but sadly most of the varieties I want to grow are not pelleted. There's also seed tape, which is biodegradable paper or tissue with seeds stuck onto it that you can place into the ground so the seeds kind of stay put. And you can buy them or make your own, but if I can avoid extra work in terms of making my own or having to spend more money on seeds that are in a pre-made seed tape, that's preferable. And unfortunately, carrot seedlings don't transplant well as most root vegetables don't, which is why when I see them at the nursery for sale, I kind of shake my head a bit. This right here is a 6-pack of carrot seedlings, and they aren't healthy, and you can see the carrots have started to form, but their growth is going to be stunted in such a small container. So you'd really want to transplant them much sooner than this, but sooner than this stage, the seedlings are going to be so delicate and hard to transplant. So I got the idea to experiment with something that's kind of a happy medium, and that is to sow carrot seeds in these small compostable cups, and Eleanor is here to investigate. Now, these say they are not home compostable, meaning they'll take a really long time to decompose in your own home compost and would be better to throw in a green waste bin to be composted with machines at a facility, but that doesn't concern me too much for what I'm using them for. I'm going to put some slits at the bottom of the cups for drainage. Eleanor is back to supervise, but also because if the bottom is cut up, the bottom part will start to break down faster, and even if the outside of the cups don't break down, as the carrots grow, they can push through the opening, and once I harvest the carrots, if the cups haven't broken down by then, I can put them in my electric composter, or I can throw them in my green waste bin. I have some cocoa coir here that is wet from the rain, but that's good. It's nice and hydrated, and I'll just take my cups and get them filled up. Doing this kind of reminds me of soil blocking, which could be a good way to start carrot seeds. I do have a plastic soil blocker. Most traditional soil blockers are bigger metal contraptions, but how they work is you essentially fill molds with soil, and then the soil gets really nice and compressed, and then you pop them out on a tray, and usually there will be a divot with a spot to plant a seed, and then you can transplant them when they are ready without disturbing the plants much or at all. I didn't care for soil blocking too much. Maybe I needed a better soil blocker to like it, but for me, it just ended up being messy, or if the blocks didn't come out compressed enough, they'd crumble. They'd crumble if I didn't water them enough, or they'd crumble if they got too much water. I'd love to revisit soil blocking someday, but that day is not today. Okay, let's take these inside and get some seeds sown. I have a lot to choose from, and I am only doing 6 cups right now. I'll sow some more later, so I will stick to just 1 to 2 varieties for now. I really want to sow some of these, the manpukuji. I don't know if I am pronouncing it right, but these carrots are supposed to get really tall. I think they are supposed to get to be about 2 to 6 feet tall. If you want a 6-foot carrot, you'll have to build your own planter, and I did last year, but I failed with the sowing of the seeds. So let's see if I can get them started this way. And I am also going to do some of these cosmic purple carrots, and I'll do 2 manpukuji and 4 cosmic purple. I really should label these or write on the cups. I will do that later, but I'll go ahead and get the seeds in and get them lightly covered and watered in. Now I'm going to add a plant light, and then I am going to add a fan for ventilation and to prevent mold from forming. It's a few days later and I have some germination on my seeds, and you can see that they have moved around a bit from where I sowed them initially, so I am glad to have put them in these cups. I have added a better plant light that can be closer to the seedlings as they grow, and once I see a few true leaves, I'll take them and just pop them in where I want them to grow and hope for the best, but theoretically, this should work.